Welcome to the Reece Report. I am Andrew Reece. Today I am bringing you episode 3 of my brand new YouTube video. I am very happy to have my first guest back on the show, Brian King Hossein and Skip Simon Brodeur. Where can they find you guys?
Oh, are you kidding me? You guys know where to find us by now. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Wherever you are, whatever time it is for you right now, just know that you are locked in on the Reece Report with the one and only Andrew Reece. You guys know where to find Simon right there. My man, SimonBrodeur.com, Amazon.ca. Go buy that book, ladies and gentlemen. It is great. You can find me on social media at King Hussein. Wherever I am, on all platforms. You guys can find Skip and I collectively on To The Point, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. There's the link right there. Andrew, can I say something to you?
Yes.
We are very elated, delighted, and very humbled to be on your third episode. And we wish you nothing but the best, my brother, because you hit it hard every day, all day on the Reece Report.
Oh, and Brian,
with all that sports news. But before we get into this, guys, before you get into it, can I just say, rest in peace, DMX?
Yes, rest in peace, DMX. Yep.
Mother the North, what do you got to ask us?
Well, I have some juicy topics today that I really need to have you guys on the show to talk about. You can find me at the Reece Report. I am the Mouth of the North on Twitter, and we are now going to talk about a man that we affectionately know as Spicy P when he was outstanding during our championship run. But lately, I'm starting to feel like he's mild P. And I say that because, he signed a max deal after having that great year and being the second man. And he had that horrible series in Boston where he was just a turnover machine. He only scored 20 points once and was just a total mental mess, I feel, more than anything else, because the bubble just wasn't for him. He's come into this year. He's been very inconsistent, but he hasn't taken that next step. And I say that because I expected him to be the number one guy this year, and he feels like the third or fourth option. And you don't want that for your max player. And he was also benched early in the year by Nick Nurse for disciplinary reasons, and they're resting him now, and they try to make him the man in the last minute. And he can't make a game-winning shot. And it's frustrating to watch him play. He has the same move that he uses when he drives, the spin move, and the league's catching up to it. And it's when you need him most, he just doesn't seem to be there. Now, I'm here to ask Skip to correct me if I'm wrong, but 45% from the field and 29% from the three-point line is not what I expected this year. Granted, we're in Tampa, and it's kind of a messy situation for the Raptors, and I believe COVID kind of messed up things. But Skip, tell me I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, I think you got to moderate your expectations for Siakam, right? Like, I mean, he's a max player, but he's not a super max player. You're not looking at a LeBron or a Kawhi type of player.
No.
He's a best player on your team kind of thing. Preferably, I think you'd want him to be your second option.
Yeah.
I think even with all the things that you laid out, even with his struggles from three, he has not shot the ball well from three at all this year. No. He's 29%. You shouldn't
not
even
good
be taking
enough.
them at that point. Even with those struggles, we've seen him sort of play a bit lackadaisically. There's just been times when he just hasn't been in the zone, and especially early in this season, he really just wasn't in the zone. Same within the bubble, he just really seemed to be in his head and not totally present in a way that he was as he was coming up. And I think that's to be expected with everything that's going on. And a lot of players and a lot of teams are going through that. But I mean, you look at his numbers, and aside from the 3-point number, which is really bad, the rest of his numbers are pretty solid across the board. He's still putting up points. He's still scoring at a fairly efficient rate. He's still rebounding at the exact same rate he was rebounding last year. He's added an extra assist per game this year. And he's still your 20-point a game scorer, which is like, I think last year he was about 22. Now he's at 20. Now, I mean, there are a lot of differences that come with that, right? Like the Raptors are not a good team. He's taking a bit more of a burden on the offense this year. But I think the bottom line is we can't really look at Siakam and put a lot of blame on him. We just have to understand that he needs to be featured in his role, which is being sandwiched between an elite point guard in Lowry and other high-level players around him. He was never the best player on the championship team. Even last year, he wasn't the best player. He was the featured player. And I think what makes Siakam great is that it's not so much that he's an elite offensive player. It's that if he can be a really good offensive player and a pretty good defensive player and a decent distributor and a decent ball handler, he can give you all of these tools, all of these skills. Like, I think I always bring things back to baseball because that's what I grew up watching. But I think of him more as like your 5-tool player. Like maybe he's not your cleanup hitter, but maybe he's that number 2 hitter who plays great defense and runs the bases well and does all these other things. I think of like a Dustin Pedroia in Boston, like when they were winning their World Series.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in conclusion, I think he's fine. We just need to surround him with better players.
I'll tell you what I see, Skip, and I have stats to back this up, but I won't bore you with those. I see DeMar DeRozan. He is exactly, if you look at his numbers, he's a volume shooter with DeMar DeRozan numbers. He's DeMar DeRozan right now.
Yeah, and being DeMar DeRozan is not a bad thing. And Siakam plays defense.
Yes, sometimes.
He's not he has the skills to be an elite defender, which DeRozan never at any point in his Raptors career had. I think DeRozan was actually a better scorer than Siakam, but that's why I bring it back to the Swiss Army knife thing, where I think Siakam is a more well-rounded player and he fits better into a team rather than having to have everything revolve around him. Now, obviously, sometimes we do see that happen in those late game situations, which you're talking about. There are times when he takes that last shot and I'm like, there might be a 3-point shooter open in the corner. Like that would be better. But we said the same things about DeRozan. I think every basketball fan says the same thing about their favorite player. Like, pass the ball, don't take the last shot.
Yeah. I'm not hating on him, people. I like Pascal Siakam. I'm just a little concerned. We didn't have to give him the extension when we did, but he had that big year behind Kawhi. And yes, I feel like he's a second man, not a lead guy. But this year, he's kind of felt like the third or fourth guy. I mean, Van Vliet's had better moments. Lowry is still, the man when he's playing. We've had OG have big moments, and he seems like the guy with the higher upside, which I wasn't expecting coming into the year. So,
but the option was, I'm just going to cut in really quick. The option was you sign him to that extension or you wait and let him walk in free agency eventually.
Yeah, that's true. You had to do it.
So,
No,
he wasn't going to take less than what they offered him. So I don't think they've made a horrible decision in signing the extension.
No, I don't think so either. I just, maybe he misses Serge. Maybe he misses Kawhi for sure. But I just don't think he's comfortable right now in Tampa, maybe.
Yeah, he'll be fine once the Raptors get some Hall of Famers back.
And he's not terrible, guys. He's not terrible. I mean, he's averaging 20 a game. He leaves me wanting more. That's all I'm going to say. But thank you, Skip, for that answer.
Getting thirsty on that one.
Yeah. But I hope that he takes the next step. I think next year will be a telling year because I'm hoping we'll be back in Toronto. Who the hell knows with COVID right now?
Well, I think that's the one thing. Sorry, I keep covering.
Yes, go ahead.
But
no, that's fine.
That's the one thing is like, I think everyone has these unrealistic expectations because we've seen him come into the year and every year he gets so much better. And he got so much better from like rookie to second year.
Player. Yep.
So much better when he was most improved. So much better when he made the All-Star.
Became an All-Star, right.
So this is kind of the first year where we're seeing him kind of plateau. And it's like, oh, he's not getting better. He's getting a little worse or he's just kind of staying the same kind of player.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of to be expected. Like, I don't think he was ever on a trajectory to be the next I don't know.
I
LeBron
think
or AD
a part
versus
of this I think a part of the skip is just how disappointing the team's been this year, and you're just looking for reasons why, and this is maybe what I'm trying to say.
He gets in the middle of it.
So on to a different topic, but an interesting one for me. Now I came on to the point. I believe it was my second show, and Paul George was a member of the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Oh,
and
yes.
Skip asked a question about who would be the MVP that year, and me and Skip, said who the MVP was, which was Giannis, the Greek Freak. And then Brian shocked me by saying Paul George in OKC. Now there were people that thought he was the MVP, and he ended up finishing third, I believe. And then the playoffs started, which is what I'm going to get to. Paul George came out and said he was playoff P, but he's more like playoff Z. And let me explain why. You want to talk? I'm going to apologize to Pascal Siakam right now because Paul George is worse in clutch situations, in elimination games. You want to see how bad this guy is? 4 for 16, 10 points. 2 for 16, 5 points. 5 for 21, 15 points. Those are all in the last 3 years of elimination games playing for the Clippers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. He is a under 40% shooter in the playoffs in the last 2 years. This guy's game falls apart when you need him most. I am telling you, this guy needs to shut up and play, and he needs to step up. Kawhi Leonard left for this guy?
I think you got to rename your show the Hater Report over there.
So, Brian, can you explain to me how a guy who worships Kobe Bryant loves Paul George?
Okay. So we all know this. If you guys have followed us, we all know I am the biggest Kobe fan probably of all time. Okay. But when I watched Paul George, I really enjoyed watching him. Now, if we look at this, his career in the playoffs and in the regular season, points per game, virtually identical. I get it, Drew. I agree with you that he is not that guy to win the game. He needs somebody, right, to put them over that hump.
He's never been the first guy.
He's been
except in Indiana.
Solid.
Yeah, and in Indiana, he couldn't beat LeBron, which nobody can.
But he's been very solid. And you know what? In the playoffs, the wins, losses, he's 41 wins, 46 losses. Now, some of these teams that he's played against have been freaking phenomenal, like the Heat. Miami knocked them out twice.
Let me stop you there, Brian.
Let me stop you there, Brian. Were there.
What does this mean to you? That's what Dame Time did to his ass. He waved him goodbye.
Knocked him right out.
He waved him goodbye, and then he went on TV and said that was a bad shot.
But it's actually funny. In game 1, he led the team in points and rebounds. In game 2, he led the team in points. In game 4, he led the team in points and rebounds. And in game 5, he led them in points. He might not have been able to put them over the hump, but he did put up the numbers and do part of his job. This is what I'm trying to say. That year that when we were talking about it, he should have been the MVP because you guys know I'm not a fan of Russell Westbrook at all. And like he's not a winner. He's a stats patter. But I honestly believe with what Paul George was doing in that system, I thought he should have been up there and like you said, he was number 3 in voting for MVP. That was just my personal choice, not based on anything because, I would have picked Giannis too that year. There's no question.
His game is not – he doesn't raise his game in the playoffs, Brian. That's my point. Like your boy Kobe.
Yeah, Kobe will raise his game in the playoffs. And you know what? I'm looking at it now statistically, and ever since Paul George came into the league in 2010, 2011, he has been a minus on the three-point percentage all but 3 years. He's been a minus on field goals, field goal percentage, all but 2 years. He's been a minus on points per game.
Like a minus between his regular season numbers and his playoff numbers?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And points per game, he's been a plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. Points per game. But he has not been able to get it done. But however, I still think that if any team were to take him, they have a chance at a chip. And maybe the Raptors should have done that to keep Kawhi. But I'm not going to say anything about that.
No.
Can they beat the Lakers? Can the Clippers beat the Lakers?
Oh, that's definitely a possibility.
Because to me, it's probably going to be those two if the Lakers are healthy. But
I think the Clippers can beat the
we
Lakers if LeBron and AD are both hurt.
Yeah, that's
we thought that last year. We definitely did think that last year, and yes, the Clippers did play against Dallas and Denver.
Yeah.
However, they came up short. They didn't get to that point because we all wanted to see them play against the Lakers. Am I correct? Am I wrong?
As much as I'm not a fan of LeBron, I don't think Paul George can beat him, and that's where I'm at with him.
Okay, so
but is it Paul George beating him, or is it
no? What
Kawhi
I mean is,
him?
like, he's played LeBron before with better teams. Like, Indiana had a better record than them twice, but I just don't think Paul George can step up to LeBron and match him or help Kawhi beat him. That's my thing.
All right, Andrew. You know what Paul George's points per game averages in the regular season? 20.1.
Yeah.
You know what his points per game average is in the playoffs?
Yeah.
20.1.
20.1.
So, I mean,
that's what I mean. He doesn't step up.
No, but you can't sit here and say he's a choker if he's the exact same player in the playoffs as he is in the regular season.
Look at the clinching games. That's what I'm trying to say. He doesn't make the big shot. He doesn't play well in clinching games.
Okay, so like I think he was playing with like a torn labrum one year. That was one of the things. I don't know if it was a labrum, but a really messed up shoulder.
Okay. Yes, OKC. Yeah.
I think you can't just denigrate Paul George just because he hasn't beat, like, you said LeBron. He hasn't beat LeBron.
He hasn't beat Portland.
he got screwed by Lillard that one year, and that was, I think, the year that his shoulder was messed up. So I don't think you can sit here and say he's terrible. I don't think you can say that he's the reason the Clippers lost last year. He didn't have a great series. He did not have a great series.
I think
he did not have a great series. But the thing is, the Clippers, it was more about the team. You heard all the chemistry issues. That team
exactly the locker room
as we thought it was.
They didn't want to be in the bubble. I understand. It's the same thing with Pascal. The Raptors, I don't care what anyone says, lost that series because Pascal Siakam did not play well and did not want to be in the bubble.
Oh, of course.
That's a fact. Yeah. So Paul George was not at his best. I understand points are the same, but if you watch the game, he did not look comfortable at all in the playoffs, Paul George. Even in the good games, he came out and said it, that he wasn't comfortable, that he was mentally not there. So,
yeah, I mean,
he had a
bad playoffs.
You know what? Just to crystallize and answer your question, like I said, he is a great second player. Not the guy that's going to put you over the hump, and not the guy that's going to take you to the chip. But he can be there. And the problem is, over the years, most of these teams have been relying on him to be that guy, which he's not.
You know who else was a notorious playoff choker?
Who?
Yes. And that
playoff choker until he won the chip, right?
Yes.
So come on,
listen, that's why I brought up the GOAT debate. In the GOAT debate, would he be the GOAT without the championship and Kawhi coming to town? Because he was not a good playoff performer before that championship run, and people on TNT were pointing it out every game. So
until he had good players around him, right?
Right. But again, Paul George last year had no excuses, and he did not step up. Kawhi was good.
He didn't have a point guard. That's one thing.
Yeah, well, they got Rondo, Mr. Hater. Okay, and you poo-pooed all over that. So
I love Rondo.
I think it's a terrible trade for them, but whatever.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out. But I would like to thank Brian and Skip for answering those questions. Now, I want to know what you people think, because, you know, Pascal Siakam is a polarizing topic right now. The Raptors are just having a terrible season outside of their beatdown of Cleveland yesterday. They're playing the Knicks tonight, which we're looking forward to in about an hour or so. There's more guys getting rested. I didn't even get into that. Why are we resting players? If
we'll talk about that after.
Webster comes out there and he says, you know, we kept Lowry because this team deserved another chance, but now we're resting players. Makes no sense, but I don't want to get into that. So I would like to know what you guys think about Paul George, Kawhi making the move to the Clippers. This is a big season for them. They don't win this year, shit's gonna hit the fan.
Mild piece.
So I'm hoping, you know, let me know what you think about Spicy Pew's become kind of mild this year, maybe in the playoffs last year, you know, and Playoff Z, who like frustrates me to no end. I had to, you know, talk about him. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think of the show. I'd like to thank Brian and Skip for coming on. And
we appreciate it.
And they'll be on again. I'm hoping to have some more new guests. This is only my third show, and I really want to get that off my chest. The Raptors have frustrated me to no end this year. But I will, because Brian is on the show, I will let him do the outro. Go ahead, Brian.
Andrew, I got to tell you, once again, thank you so much. We appreciate being here and talking about these hot takes, because you are, Skip and I always call you Mr. Hot Take. We love coming on to talk about these juicy issues that you bring up that formulates in your head. We have nothing but love for it. We wish you nothing but the best of success. We wish everybody out there in the audience to enjoy this show. Keep watching the Reece Report, okay? On behalf of myself, Skip, and Andrew, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, and
peace.
Thanks, guys.